We have new information about EA Sports College Football 25, so we're going to break it down in this video right here. However, first I want to mention I got an upgrade in the hardware, so the gameplay should look better than the previous videos. I know some of the previous videos during like the cutscenes and the movement, the field especially got pretty fuzzy. I don't really know exactly why, I just know I needed to upgrade the hardware. So I went out and I did that, so hopefully it looks a lot better now. So the first big thing I want to talk about in this video is that EA Sports announced that they have reached over 10,000 college football players that have opted in to College Football 25. So that is a huge number. So as many of y'all know, there are over 11,000 college football players. So that would be the 85 scholarship players per 134 teams. So that comes out to like, I think 11,300 or 11,400. And so that's a ton of college football players. And the goal for EA was to get 85 players per team in this video game. So this is like the biggest NIL deal so far in a short history of NIL. Getting 11,500 players or so to sign up for something like with a deadline, I can't imagine how challenging that is, especially when these are college students. Like these guys are 18 to 22. Imagine trying to get a bunch of 18-year-olds to sign up for something on time, especially when there's over 11,000 of them. Like that is a very challenging task. And just 8 days since they sent out the contracts, over 10,000 players have already opted into the game. So that is about 85-90% of those players. ESPN said they reached 87% of its goal. So I mean, that's really good. It's only a little over a week, and we almost already have 90% of these players opted into the game. So now we know when we boot up College Football 25 for the first time, we're going to have at least 10,000 real college football players in this video game. And I'm sure that number will get all the way up to basically 100% by the time this game launches. So this basically all but silences that crowd that was saying that, $600 wasn't enough for the athletes or that this wasn't going to work. I know most fans of the video game weren't saying that, but there were lots of outside sources like saying this is ridiculous, there's no way this is going to work. But literally a week and we already have 90% of these guys signed up. And I feel like most people saw that coming. Like these guys just wanted to be in the video game. So I've seen a lot of people ask, like, what about the incoming freshmen? Are they going to be in the game? The answer is yes, kinda. If they are already enrolled in a school, they can opt in now. But if I know a lot of these guys, they're not going to decide till later, throughout the summer. Technically, the deadline to opt into this game is April 30th, but we already know EA plans to have roster updates throughout the game life cycle. So even if these guys opt in after that deadline, it really shouldn't be a big deal. It's not a hard deadline. Like I said, they're going to have roster updates. I'm sure they're going to expect to have to put in a lot of these true freshmen after that April 30th date. So it shouldn't be a big deal. Yes, these true freshmen should be in the game, assuming they're one of those 85 guys that are expected to get playing time. I also get asked a lot, like, who has opted out? And it's kind of a weird question, I guess, because you don't really opt out of the game, you just opt into the game. So there's lots of guys that haven't actually posted on social media that they've opted into the game. That doesn't mean necessarily that they're not going to be in the game. I know a lot of people have talked about Shedeur Sanders because he never posted anything on social media, but he could have opted in for all we know. We don't know what the list looks like. Just because someone didn't post that they're in the game doesn't mean they haven't opted in, or even if they haven't opted in yet, doesn't mean they're not going to. But if your question is there anyone that has announced publicly that they're not going to opt into the game? Not that I'm aware of. Maybe like there's some smaller players that have. I doubt it, but there's no big names that have. I'm sure that would have been, big news that I saw. So no, there's nobody that has like publicly announced I'm not going to be in the game. But we do know some of these massive players have already opted in, like Jalen Milroe, Travis Hunter, Will Johnson, Carson Beck, the list goes on. It'll be fun and exciting to see these guys in the game and see what their ratings are. And if you watched one of my previous videos, you can't edit those players that opt into the game, but hopefully that means you can edit their overall and like speed and catching and all of that. But we'll have to see. Okay, so the second big thing I wanted to talk about in this video is the commentating crew. Again, I've talked about it briefly on some of the other videos, but I wanted to talk about it a little more in depth in this video because the 7 names we got were awesome to see. but there was actually an eighth name that a lot of people missed that was announced back on the 22nd when all of them announced they were in the game. So that eighth name is Rich DeMarco, who is the voice of Army football. And as you can see, he said that he will be the PA announcer in College Football 25. So the other 7 guys, Kirk Herbstreit, Chris Fowler, David Pollock, Kevin Connors, Jesse Palmer, Reese Davis, and Desmond Howard, those guys, I presume, will be on College Game Day, and they will be calling games. Whereas Rich DeMarco, he's going to be the PA announcer. So the PA announcer is the guy that's like making announcements in the stadium. So you don't hear them on the TV when you're listening to the game. You obviously hear the play-by-play guys, like I said, like Chris Fowler and Reese Davis and those guys. But the PA announcer is the guy that's making announcements to the fans in the stadium. So like he's the guy that says, that's another Alabama first down, or even something like first down catch by Johnson. And you might think, that's stupid, who cares? It's a video game. I'm not even going to hear him really. But if you remember in Road to Glory, you don't actually hear the play-by-play guys. Assuming they keep that in College Football 25, you kind of hear the on-field stuff because you're a player down there on the field, and you can hear the PA announcer every time, a play takes place. So I assume in Road to Glory in College Football 25, we're going to hear a lot of Rich DeMarco, kind of commentating, but he's saying stuff to the fans in the stadium. But as I've said in the past, this is an absolutely stacked commentator crew. I'm so excited for these guys. I'm hoping still that, we're going to get to see Fox or CBS or something like that with Gus Johnson, but I'm kind of doubting it at this point. But the guys we have are still really, really good. And Chris Fowler posted a video on social media talking about how many hours they've put in to all these recordings and how much effort and time. I'm going to play a clip here because it just shows how in depth it sounds like the commentating is going to be in this game.
Bunch of stuff you'd never see in a real game. I've described. You want to punt on second down, try a 71-yard field goal. That's in the game too, along with the appropriate analysis of those decisions. Your quarterback throws 5 picks in the first quarter or 5 touchdowns. We got you covered there too in detail.
So as you can see in the video, Chris Fowler's talking about how much detail they've put into the commentating in this game and putting the appropriate analysis for different situations. So he said, like, for example, if you try to kick a 71-yard field goal, they're going to bring up how the fact that, like, what the heck, why are you kicking a 71-yard field goal? Or if you're punting on second down, again, they're going to be like, why are you punting on second down? They're going to say the appropriate response that they would in real life if some team randomly decided to do that. Or if your quarterback sucks and he throws 5 picks in the first quarter, Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit, I'm sure, are going to give you a hard time about that. Or if, like he said, if he throws 5 touchdowns in the first quarter, I'm sure they'll be like heralding him as the greatest quarterback ever, probably saying stuff like Tony Romo does about Patrick Mahomes. So like once they make College Football 26 and 27 and 28, like they're obviously going to reuse some of this recordings for the commentating. But the good thing about this game being the first one in 11 years, like everything's going to be new. The commentating, the graphics, the gameplay, all of this is going to be new to us, which is going to make it, I think, so much better probably than like 26, 27, 28. So these crazy scenarios where they still have to commentate them, it's going to be completely new to us the first time we've ever heard it. So like if your quarterback just starts running back 80 yards and takes a safety, like I'm sure they've got that covered too, to where they even commentate that. So it'll be fun doing all these random scenarios, trying to just hear the different things they say in the game. But it sounds like they're going really, really in depth with it. So that's the 2 main things I wanted to talk about in this video. Most of the players have opted in. The commentating sounds like it's going to be awesome and realistic. And we're going to continue getting news as we get closer to this game. So definitely subscribe. I'm going to continue updating y'all on everything I know. Definitely follow on Instagram as well. Bring NCAA back. I normally post everything on there first before I upload it to YouTube. So I'll see y'all in the next one.